it's just double vision constantly. And it's a little bit grey as well. So I've got like a grey eyesight from there onwards and double vision.
Tom Aspinall is not cleared to fight still. He is not cleared to train still, which is something, yes, that a commission can enforce. Comes with your privileged license.
This is far more than a simple scratch or temporary irritation from a misplaced finger. It is a mechanical failure deep inside the delicate machinery of the human eye. Tom Aspinall specialist has delivered a sobering confirmation. The eye poke from Cyril Gain caused a serious disruption in the superior oblique tendon. Essentially, a critical pulley system that controls precise eye movement has malfunctioned. Until the double vision is 100% resolved and stable, any return to the octagon would be nothing short of a suicide mission. The doctor's message was brutally direct and left no room for interpretation. Fight now while the injury lingers, and you might permanently lose the ability to see a punch coming before it lands. The
movement tests have shown that there is a reduction in the ability for the muscles of your eyes to move up. So essentially your eyeball has muscles on the outside and it works like a pulley system. So when one muscle relaxes and one muscle pulls, your eyes move across to your left and then right. If there's damage to these eye muscles, even one small muscle, which are very small, then you can get one eye moving up and the other eye doesn't follow. And if they're not tracking absolutely perfectly, then you get one image coming from one eye and one image coming from a slightly different perspective. And that's what you're getting. You're getting one image here and one image here.
Diagnosed as traumatic Brown syndrome, has turned Aspinall's world into a confusing blur of overlapping images. When he looks in certain directions, particularly upward, his vision splits, one clear picture and one ghost image floating beside it. For a heavyweight champion whose game relies on lightning-fast reactions, elite distance management, and reading subtle feints, this is catastrophic. A split-second delay in visual processing in the heaviest division on the planet can mean the difference between landing a fight-ending shot and eating a knockout blow that ends everything. The optometrist's grim diagnosis has forced Aspinall into a painful waiting game. He must balance the burning desire to defend his title against the very real risk of irreversible damage that could end his career or leave him with lifelong vision impairment. This is not the kind of setback a fighter can simply tough out or train through. It demands patience, medical intervention, and the mental fortitude to ignore the noise from critics who refuse to believe the severity. The champion who once moved like a predator in the cage is now navigating a far more personal and terrifying battlefield. One fought in silence, behind closed doors, and inside his own damaged eyesight. The grim diagnosis has turned what should have been a triumphant title reign into a race against time to save not just his career, but his ability to see the world clearly again. The bad boy of West Lynn, Chael Sonnen, is suddenly singing a completely different tune. After initially expressing strong doubt about the legitimacy of Tom Aspinall's eye injury, Sonnen has made a sharp pivot. He now claims his earlier harsh words were never meant to be personal attacks. Instead, he is highlighting a crucial detail that many overlooked. Aspinall was not poked once, but 3 separate times during the chaotic scramble with Cyril Gane. Sonnen suggests that the repeated finger extensions from Gane look far more calculated than accidental, shifting the conversation from skepticism about Aspinall's condition to questions about the French fighter's intentions inside the octagon. This U-turn from one of MMA's most outspoken voices carries significant weight. Sonnen built his reputation on brutal honesty and calling things exactly as he sees them, often without filter. His change in stance comes as more medical details and visual evidence from the fight continue to surface. The 3 distinct pokes, captured clearly on replay, paint a picture that even a hardened skeptic like Sonnen cannot easily dismiss.
Now, obviously, Tom's the one living through this. Tom's the one that's getting absolutely slaughtered online. And Tom's the one, 6 weeks later, still having to go to the doctor and still can't train and do any kind of combat. So he's the man that's living with this, okay? So you understand, you kind of will get emotional. You will be... and you will think that Cyril Gane was doing that on purpose. I still don't, okay? I don't think Cyril Gane did that on purpose. What you want to do is crack someone in the face, and when the hands are out, when you go to grab, if someone comes in to take you down or whatever, sometimes that happens. That's why this whole rule of the fingers being up, not allowed there, but they're allowed.
The Bisping curse narrative has taken on a life of its own in MMA circles. It started as dark humor, but has evolved into genuine concern about possible contributing factors. Are British fighters more susceptible due to fighting styles that involve more forward pressure and closer range exchanges? Is it simply bad luck amplified by the brutal nature of the sport? Or is there something deeper at play in training methods or medical oversight? Whatever the cause, the string of eye-related setbacks has created a chilling pattern that raises questions about fighter safety and long-term health in the heavyweight and welterweight divisions especially. For Aspinall, being added to this list feels particularly cruel. He was on the verge of cementing himself as the undisputed face of the British MMA movement, a legitimate heavyweight champion with elite skills and charisma. Instead, his reign has been defined by medical struggles and public doubt. The curse label adds an extra layer of psychological pressure. It turns a personal injury into part of a larger, almost supernatural narrative that can be hard to shake. Bisping himself has addressed the topic with a mix of humor and seriousness, acknowledging the pattern while refusing to let it define the next generation. Yet the jokes about goggles and the growing list of affected UK fighters continue to circulate. This chapter of Aspinall's story is forcing the UFC and the broader MMA community to confront uncomfortable questions about eye safety, glove design, referee vigilance, and the human cost of chasing greatness in one of the world's most dangerous sports. The Bisping curse may be superstition, but the injuries are very real, and Tom Aspinall is currently paying the heaviest price. In stark contrast to the medical professionals treating him, the self-proclaimed anime guru, has emerged as one of the loudest voices leading the charge of outright skepticism toward Tom Aspinall's injury. He has openly mocked the diagnosis of traumatic Brown syndrome, sarcastically suggesting that the champion is using ChatGPT to forge doctor's notes and craft elaborate excuses. To the anime guru and his growing audience, the idea that a world-class heavyweight champion could be rendered legally blind or severely visually impaired 6 weeks after a few finger pokes sounds more like a carefully choreographed exit strategy than a legitimate medical reality. This brand of aggressive doubt has found fertile ground among fans frustrated by the lack of a clear timeline for Aspinall's return. This end-of-the-road warning adds a sobering layer of realism to the conversation. Aspinall's camp has remained cautiously optimistic, emphasizing that the injury is healing and that full recovery remains possible. Yet voices like Plemons force everyone to confront the worst-case scenario. The psychological pressure on Aspinall must be immense, fighting not only to regain his vision but to prove to the world, to the UFC, and to himself that he can still compete at the highest level. The heavyweight throne is lonely enough without the added burden of vision impairment. Plemons' analysis serves as both caution cautionary tale and reality check. If the bilateral damage is confirmed and persistent, the dream of undisputed dominance could slip away faster than anyone expected. The coming months will determine whether Aspinall defies the odds or if this injury truly marks the beginning of the end for one of Britain's brightest heavyweight prospects. The fallout from Tom Aspinall's very public clash with Dana White could prove catastrophic for the young champion's immediate future. Analyst Emma Joey believes the UFC is already quietly moving towards stripping Aspinall of the undisputed heavyweight title. He predicts a scenario in which Salsa Boy, John Jones, finally faces Cyril Gane in 2026, leaving Aspinall on the outside looking in. In Joey's view, publicly criticizing or trashing the boss while wearing sunglasses on a cloudy day is the fastest way to fall out of favor with the promotion and become a former champion rather than a defending one. This prediction highlights the ruthless political reality inside the UFC. Dana White has never been shy about moving on from fighters who create headaches or fail to align with the company's timeline. Aspinall's injury has already tested that patience. Adding public tension with the CEO only complicates matters. Joey argues that the UFC machine does not wait indefinitely for injured stars, especially in the heavyweight division where fresh contenders are always ready to step up. If Aspinall cannot provide a firm return date or prove his vision is back to 100%, The promotion may decide to move forward without him, potentially creating an interim title or even vacating the belt entirely. The Salsa Boy nickname for Jon Jones has become a meme-like shorthand in this saga, reflecting the widespread belief that Jones remains the measuring stick. Some analysts have shifted their criticism away from Tom Aspinall himself and toward the people surrounding him, his management team and cornermen. They argue that his inner circle is failing the champion by allowing him to appear miserable and defensive in public appearances and interviews. Instead of calmly presenting medical receipts, staying composed, and building a powerful narrative of a vengeful king preparing for a dominant return, the team has allegedly let Aspinall look vulnerable and reactive. The critique suggests that crying about dirty cheaters or focusing too heavily on the injustice only feeds the troll army and weakens the champion's aura. Effective fighter management in the modern UFC era requires more than just booking fights and negotiating contracts. It demands careful image control, strategic storytelling, and the ability to shape public perception during difficult times. Critics claim Aspinall's team has dropped the ball by not presenting a united With the undisputed heavyweight champion sidelined indefinitely by his eye injury, the entire division has fallen into a strange state of suspended animation. Contenders are circling like sharks, and the very real threat of an interim title fight or even a complete stripping of the belt looms large over the landscape. If Tom Aspinall cannot prove within the next few critical months that his vision has returned to full strength and reliability, the UFC's undisputed throne will likely be depending on which camp the observer belongs to. Reality and theater are now intertwined in this saga. Aspinall must prove his injury is legitimate while also proving he still possesses the hunger and ability to reclaim his throne. The UFC and the fans demand both truth and action. The coming period will test every aspect of Aspinall's character: his patience, his resilience, his ability to ignore noise, and his capacity to return stronger. Whether this chapter ends in triumphant redemption or quiet fade will depend on the clarity of his vision, both literal and figurative. The final verdict is still being written in the quiet moments of recovery and the loud arenas of public opinion. For Tom Aspinall, the heaviest fight of his life is no longer taking place inside the octagon. It is happening inside his own eyes and inside the hearts and minds of a divided fanbase that is watching his every move with intense scrutiny. The siege continues, and only time and clear vision will deliver the final verdict.